let's get right to it. Wide receiver. We know about Odell Beckham. We know about Jarvis Landry. Really, though, Mary Kay behind that, it gets a little bit murky. And you even asked Kevin Stefanski about that today when he was available via Zoom. That's a really tough position to figure out.
Yeah, it really is. And I think Chad O'Shea, the passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach, really emphasized that last week when we talked to him, just how big of a competition it is, even for that third wide receiver spot. Right now you're talking about Kaderil Hodge, Rashard Higgins, Damian Ratley for that number 3 receiver position. And then you have to figure out who makes the team as a returner. Do you count him as a receiver, or do you throw him over into Mike Prefer's realm and let him have a couple of guys of his own? So, you've got guys like JoJo Natson that fall into that category. So there's a lot to kind of factor in here. And I think they have to keep more than 5 receivers, especially because Jarvis Landry is coming off of a surgery, and we don't know how healthy he's going to be at the beginning of the season. So I think you have to keep at least 6, and then you have to, think about the possibility of maybe even another one that just goes as a return man.
Yeah, Ellis, this is the numbers game. You're trying to figure out how many you want to keep here, how many you want to keep there, who you can sneak onto a practice squad maybe. I'm not jealous of Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski and the meetings they're going to have after that scrimmage on Friday.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough call, and you could tell this was going to be difficult for a while, specifically in training camp when you notice how many different receivers they were rolling in with the first team because, again, Mary Kay said it, Jarvis has been really controlled and dealing with an injury, and then Odell's Odell. He's only going to participate in so many things. So at first I'm surprised to see, Donovan Peoples-Jones catching balls from Baker or Natson getting a wide receiver reverse, but then it makes sense. They've got to really give these guys opportunity and figure this out because the number 3 receiver is going to be catching balls from Baker Mayfield.
Okay, so let's talk about Rashard Higgins. Where are we with Rashard Higgins? Is he a guy that we think is that third receiver? Is he on the roster bubble? Is it guaranteed he's going to make the roster, but maybe he's not the number 3 guy? Mary Kay, where are you with Rashard? There's a lot of ways we could go there.
You know what? I think he's going to make the roster, and I think Alex Van Pelt really does like him a lot. We know that Baker likes him, and we know that he has a nose for the end zone. He is good in the red zone. He really is. He can score the football, and you need guys that can do that. So I think he's going to make the team, but I also think that he's almost neck and neck right now with Kaderil Hodge. And then Damian Ratley hasn't even really had a chance to climb into the competition yet because he missed most of camp with a groin injury. So I think those 3 guys are really bunched up there. And I think this is kind of a big week for all those 3 guys. And I also think Friday night, even though it's really just a scrimmage, that also is kind of an opportunity for one of those guys to shine and to stand out. But it almost seems like Kaderil Hodge leapfrogged over Rashard, and he was and kind of has been the third wide out after, when they go to 3 wides right now. And that's how it looked at the stadium the other night. So was that just his chance? Will they give Rashard that chance in this next scrimmage? Will Damian Ratley? It's the big mystery everybody has to tune in for.
And Ellis, I thought it was very interesting that coming out of when Kaderil Hodge missed some time for personal reasons, when he came back, he was right back out there with the first team. Now, maybe that's part of out of respect. He didn't do anything to lose his position, but sometimes, guys do kind of step up and you mix it up a little bit. But Hodge hit the ground running with those first teamers, and that hasn't really changed.
The issue with Rashard, and he needs to be really careful here. And Friday is a huge night for Rashard. It's going to be a huge night because he doesn't play specials, and that makes it almost double as hard to make a roster because there's only so many spots, and the guys that can do both are add extra value. And it's not just Higgins making this roster. We're now talking about Higgins placing this league, and that might be a rabbit hole we don't need to go down right now. But again, guys that don't play specials and are fringe wide receiver 4s, there's just not really much room for them on NFL rosters. So Friday night's going to be huge for Rashard, and it wouldn't surprise me if he shows out and we see the red carpet come out because that tends to be what he does.
Well, and maybe a lot of this hinges on a guy like JoJo Natson. We talked to him today. And you mentioned that special teams thing, Ella. So on the one hand, Kadero Hodge is a guy who we know can play special teams. He can be a gunner. He can do a lot of things for you on special teams, and he can be an effective receiver, at least effective enough for what you need to do. JoJo Natson can be your return guy, but we've never seen him actually do it as a receiver. Now, I asked him, and a couple other folks asked him today about getting opportunities to play receiver, and he has been getting out there with some opportunities, but again, we've still never seen him do it. So if you're keeping JoJo Natson to return kicks, you kind of take away some opportunities for a guy that might be a little more one-dimensional, like a Higgins, or, if we want to go a different direction, somebody else like, I think Damian Ratley could probably play special teams. I think we've seen him do it. But some of those guys that maybe can't do both, it hurts them if you got to keep JoJo Natson as a kick returner.
Yeah, and you've got Donovan Peoples-Jones that can do that for you. So they kind of have to decide if they can keep both JoJo Natson and Donovan Peoples-Jones. And if they do that, and look at those guys primarily as their returners, then what does that mean for the back end of the receiver room? Again, when it comes to a Damian Ratley, a Kadero Hodge, a Rashard Higgins. I mean, can you keep all of those guys? And, maybe you can in the beginning. Maybe time is on their side in the beginning. You err on the side of a few more receivers until you wait and see what's going on with Jarvis. The other thing to consider here is, like we've said with all of these positions, they are going to look very, very heavily at the waiver wire on Saturday. So some of these guys that make the team on Saturday are not going to be on the team on Sunday. So once again, it's not the final 53, it's the initial 53.